obviously you're not a golfer.
I must have drank me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I gotta pay.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Robert.
You're an inanimate fucking object! You told I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? God!
What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of 3 for 3. I hope y'all out there are having a Merry Christmas.
Cheers, everybody.
Yes. I don't have anything to toast, but I have some eggnog in my fridge, but didn't bring it with me. Yes, this is our Christmas special. So,
Woo! Ho, ho, ho.
that's right. Ho, 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 and happy fucking
Ho,
holidays.
ho, ho. Fuck.
Or as Alan Rickman would say in one of the movies we're going to talk about, her. But yes, I am your host for this episode, Mr. Jackson Workman, and I am joined by my two merry chums, Mr. Samuel Holler and Mr. Matthew Patterson. And this week, we need your help. You see, Matt over here, he's not doing so well. As you can see, he's bedridden like Tiny Tim. And yes, see, he has a Dickensian illness. And if you all out there, over the course of this episode, can send us enough Christmas cheer, then maybe, just maybe, we can get him to walk again.
Mr. Jackson, Mother Teresa called me Mr. Holler in third grade. My friends call me Sam. And you're neither, shithead. That's my favorite line in the whole fucking movie.
That's, yeah, a fucking absolute gem.
Yeah, support Matthew Patterson. Miniature Matthew needs to walk again.
With this miniature Matthew bit, we should also talk about the importance of healthcare.
Yes, I suppose we should.
Because this is the cause.
You're gonna take a shot with that joke?
Did United Healthcare deny your leg extension surgery?
Right?
Well, it's okay, Matt.
The
You've been
reason why
avenged.
I'm so fucked up right now. I can't. That's why I'm not in a hospital. That's why I'm in my bed. Father Christmas.
You're sick, it's Christmas, and you're drinking. That's how desperate the situation is.
And
It's okay.
you're halfway across America. You're halfway across America right now.
That's right. He's having a New Mexico Christmas.
At least
But,
I'm not.
Yeah. Bitches.
We said this.
But yeah, so be sure to send us enough Christmas cheer out there, everybody, so we can help miniature Matthew walk again.
Flake it off me onto them.
Yes, I'll send you just a little bit.
We just
From
need
my hat
Eric
here.
to sprinkle some of his magic on me, and then I will walk
Yeah.
again.
I'll sprinkle some magic on you, all right.
That's right. But yes, we have a very, what'd you say?
But I couldn't do anything about it because I'm handicapped.
But we have a very, I would say, wide array of movies today, all Christmas themed. And I guess since we already kind of touched on it a bit, we'll start with my pick, which was Die Hard.
You protect me, motherfucker.
We are gonna put the debate to rest once and for all on this show today, whether this is a Christmas film or not. And I don't know how you guys feel. I'm going to conclusively prove that it is.
It 100% is.
Okay, so we're all in agreement then. So
Wrong. Yeah, we're not going to fight.
Well, at first I was like, no, but then the more it went on, and the police were like, we can't do this because it's Christmas Eve and we can't cut the power, and like all these small details, the music that's playing in the background, even though it's orchestral,
Yeah.
it's the Christmas music, and
100%.
it's a Christmas movie.
So yeah, for those of you who
Bruce
don't
Willis
know,
hugs a fucking black man he had never met in his life on Christmas Day to celebrate life, joy, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, fuck them all. That's what real Christmas is about. Hugging people you've never actually met in person, but their voice tells you that you're okay, and you know that they're okay, even
We
though
can
they're
argue
even
Die
though they're
Hard
not a
more
child.
for
But that's a
relations
4 hour.
than the civil rights movement.
Say what?
So we can argue Die Hard did more for race relations than the civil rights movement.
Damn,
Oh wow.
damn, coming in hot.
Yeah, we really are today, aren't we? Um, but for the 10 of you who haven't seen Die Hard, the plot is Mr. John McClane, a New York cop. He comes out to Los Angeles on Christmas Eve, and he's there to see his wife, Holly, who he's been separated from for a little while because she's doing really well in her career, and he doesn't. It's driven a wedge between them because he didn't want her to move out to LA and become successful. He's been a little selfish about it. And so he's coming out to try to make amends with her and see her at her office Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza. And what happens? Who ruins the party but those motherfucking Germans? They just come right in.
Hans.
Huey Lewis.
They come in as they often do, those Germans, and they just ruin everybody's fun. And they Mr. Hans Gruber, the lead German terrorist, he takes over the building, he takes everyone hostage, but he doesn't take John McClane hostage. And he's got to traverse his way through the building and kill all the terrorists and try to free everybody, all while these morons downstairs, the police and the FBI, are trying to fuck everything up, except for Al, who's the goat of the movie, undisputedly, who helps him from the outside of the building. Yeah, obviously, this is one of the most legendary action films of all time. Extremely not my first time seeing it. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Yeah,
I've seen it twice before. This once was as a kid, so I barely remembered it, and then once was 2 years ago, and it blew me away this time, like even more so than I expected it to. Like the amount of effort they put into the sets, and like especially towards the end after the bomb has gone off and all that kind of stuff, and he's just running through just shit that's all in the like lobby area, and it's just insane. This movie is good as fuck.
it is a perfect action film. I mean, it really doesn't get better than this, like truly. The action set pieces are phenomenal, the direction is phenomenal, the cinematography is phenomenal, the performances, the writing. I mean,
Camera.
obviously it's been talked about to death. Say what?
I was like, even the camera work just so like brilliant.
Everything.
It's like
Everything in this movie is fucking immaculate. It is literally like, I mean, you could not scientifically engineer in a lab a more perfect action film than this. It is just, it has everything you could ever want. But that's the ironic thing. And I know it's been talked about to death, but it deserves to be said some more. It is the perfect action film, but at the time, it was not in any way a conventional action film. And not just because it was set on Christmas, but because, as has been said before, at this time, all you had in action films was like, Schwarzenegger and Stallone, and they were always these like, huge invincible killing machines who, were completely infallible and just spouted one-liners and just gunned everybody down. And
They didn't need no woman to rein them in and make them a better man.
that's right, because they are already perfect. They're already pretty much demigods, those two were, and everything they were in. And in this one, John McClane, played by Mr. Bruce Willis, is just he's a fallible, he's an everyman. This was the first action movie that had an everyman as its protagonist who was fallible, who was human, who did show like emotions and shit, and it deserves a ton of credit for that because obviously it was very influential. It paved the way forward for action movies to the point where it became a trope, especially in the 90s, to say, oh, this movie is Die Hard, but this, like Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard, wherever. Like it was so influential. But something I noticed this time, like really noticed this time, was obviously, he's the everyman protagonist, and that's one of the reasons the movie is so great. But I noticed like little details this time that I didn't necessarily like remember from past viewings. Like they really take the time to highlight that he is just an average dude with emotions and fallibility. Like not only just him admitting at the end that he was wrong and that he should have treated his wife better and that he hopes she forgives him and stuff. Like, you fucking never would have seen Schwarzenegger do that back in the day. I mean, like that in an action movie, like the idea that he just doesn't automatically get the girl and he has to think about the consequences of his actions with his love interest, like, and just little things like when they have the big argument early in the movie, and she leaves, just that scene of him afterwards just being like, "Yeah, real mature, John. Like, I think you really won her over." Oh,
All right, my cat just stepped on my laptop.
your cat almost took your computer out. Um, but yeah, just him saying afterwards, like, real mature, John. Yeah, that really helped the conversation. I mean, even in action movies now, you don't see that. Like, they really go out of their way to make him a very like identifiable, like he's willing to admit that he made a mistake. You know, like he's not just like, she's crazy, whatever. Like he goes out of his way to and afterwards when they kill Mr. Takagi, he expresses regret. Like that was a real like something that stood out to me this time that I never really noticed before. Like he doesn't just move on like it didn't happen. He doesn't just, go to spouting one-liners or whatever. There's like that moment where he's like, "Why the fuck didn't you say them, John? Like, God, why didn't you like, yeah, because then you would be dead too." Like he really I really appreciate how they take the time to humanize him in that way and make him again more of the everyman kind of guy. And
I
you
think that's
know,
where two of the biggest standouts of this movie are both the cinematography and the editing, because
mhm,
there's so many shots of him and perspectives where he's not even saying some things, but you see in his face what he's thinking, what he's feeling, and just that small like one line that he'll say about like why didn't you save him and everything like has repercussions even way later when like he thinks Hans is a hostage at first and no bullets and how like playful he got so quick, but you saw these like 20 different emotions through this character as he's processing all this stuff going on. And
right. And that's something that Bruce Willis was always very good at. It's a weird example to use, but in Pulp Fiction, like I just remember that scene where he escapes from the basement and he's like getting ready to go out the door. You see him making all those decisions, and that's just something that I've always thought Bruce Willis is really good at, is like you can see on his face what's going on in his head. But yeah, just the whole the whole thing really just every time I watch it, it never gets old. I don't know about you guys, but it really just it's just such a classic. I mean, truly, it really just and again, every I was reading, it's interesting because I never knew this. Apparently because Bruce Willis at the time was so busy shooting Moonlighting, like he would shoot Moonlighting during the day and that would take like 12 hours and then he would shoot this at night. So he was like super tired, super busy, and so he wouldn't always be available. And so because of that, they had to beef up a lot of the supporting roles. And I was like, well, that ended up working out for the best because that's something that impresses me about this movie every time is just how well used and lovable each of the supporting characters are. Like, again, I
The
really
news.
feel like that's something. Say what?
So they even had the whole thing with the news people that tied in, like, and that seemed like almost like halfway through the movie they just cut it on them, and then you just kind of fall. Even if you don't like the guy, you're still like, what is going? You're interested.
Right. Because that obviously plays a major part in the story later on when that dickhead, interviews his kids. I want to punch that guy every single time I watch this movie. But William Atherton was so good at playing just scummy 80s assholes. But what was I going to say? Oh, but I think at this time, I feel like again that's not necessarily something that was always done in action movies was give so much emphasis to the supporting characters. Like, again, in your typical Schwarzenegger or Stallone movie, it's them, and yes, there are supporting characters, but they are the focus. And it is like you don't spend that much time. Like maybe they've got a sidekick, or maybe they've got like one or two around them, but to have so many supporting characters who are so important and take time away from the lead. I feel like that wasn't done as much at the time. But another one that did do it before this was also from John McTiernan, which was Predator. So I think that's something that he in particular is really good at, because that's another movie where, again, the ensemble is an important part of the movie. Um, and I miss him, by the way. Like, I really wish he would do something because what a fucking talent he was. I mean, truly. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that, what you're saying though, the supporting characters. Because like I could name almost all the freaking supporting characters, like Argyle. He's
mhm.
like literally they could have just left. Like they didn't have to have him down there. And
Right.
then name from Walker, Texas Ranger, his name I can't remember off the top of my head, even though it was on the tip of my tongue. Uh he's really good. The dude with the glasses who was breaking into the,
Oh, the black dude. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but and he's like, "This is toast," or and
He
all
was a
that.
riot. He's every time I watch it, he's one of my favorite parts. Like when he just comes in and just kicks the guy off the desk and shit. That's always a lot of fun.
And then the
Um,
Lewis looking motherfucker who's watching football.
yeah. Yeah, all the henchmen are interesting too. Like the blonde guy was just pissed off, the whole movie. And again, just the idea of like yet another interesting dynamic in the film. Like, okay, one of the henchmen, his brother was killed and he wants revenge. And so he's kind of going off script a little bit and going after him when he shouldn't. Again, that's yet another. So many of the action movies of this era, it was like just so singularly minded. It's like the protagonist has to do this. He's got to kill all these people and get his way to the bad guy. And it's just like so many little side things with these side characters, like that you just find. And again, just even the ones that don't necessarily have an arc, they provide something to the film. Like Paul Gleason's character to me, again, very good at playing 80s dickheads. Like just him being the completely idiotic police chief who has no idea what he's doing. It adds a layer of tension to the film. And the fucking every time I watch this, those FBI guys crack me the fuck up. They are so hilarious just with how over the top they are. Just like they're in Full Metal Jacket or something in the helicopters. It's fucking hilarious. But I love the line. I didn't remember this line from before, where he's like, "Just like in Vietnam, right? I was in junior high, asshole."
Yep.
Just hilarious shit like that. And again, showing like real consequences in a movie like this. If Sylvester Stallone shoots out a room with a bunch of glass in it, he doesn't have a scrape on him. He's fine. But we have a whole scene where Bruce Willis, his foot is bleeding and he's got to get to the bathroom and pick the glass out, bandage it up. Like there are consequences for like, him taking damage.
Mhm.
Again, it's like so many ways this was just like such a revolutionary film. I mean, that I think is why you're so invested in it every time. Like because the stakes do feel more real than in so many more action movies from this time, and I don't know, it puts you there with him, like, because he's relatable. He's a person. He's not a giant fucking, Schwarzenegger like dude. So,
I mean, the
yeah.
movie itself is charming. It's like hard, like the whole thing. It's like you can't, even if you're like, oh, I don't like Bruce Willis, I think you could still watch that movie and be like, well, that's a good movie. Like, or I enjoyed at least one aspect of it. Like it wouldn't just ruin the whole thing.
And
So,
he is at the top of his game in this. I mean, you can't deny he's just, I mean, the dude, the fact that like I was watching it this time and thinking to myself, the fact that like this guy was doing anything but action movies before this. I mean, he was born to be an action star. The fact that he was seen as like a sitcom guy when he did this movie, I'm just like, this dude was fucking born to be an action star. I mean, he's like just the most effortlessly cool dude. I mean, in the movies, I know in real life he was a bit of a dickhead, but it in the movie it's just like, man, he's just got that natural like classic movie star charisma, action star charisma that like again, I feel like at that time was such a breath of fresh air. And even watching it now, 35 years later, however long it's been, it's just like he's still just got this thing that no other action star before or since has had. And I think that really helps flesh out the character. And again, going back to the supporting characters, um, Hans Gruber is one of the greatest movie villains of all time. I mean, undisputed. Alan Rickman,
True
fucking
bad.
rest in peace.
The only
Just
angel I'll ever.
First, first like English at least movie role, I think.
Yeah, his very first movie. That's right. I mean, can you imagine this being your first movie? That's fucking insane. And he's fantastic in it. His American accent that he does fucking kills me every time I watch it. Oh God, you're one of them, aren't you? I'm like, oh wow. That's his idea of what Americans sound like. That's hilarious. But Bonnie Bedelia is great as his wife, of course. And the heart and soul of the movie to me, from the first time I saw it to now, is Al. Fucking shout out to Reginald Bell Johnson. I really think he just was perfectly cast in this movie. I think that character every time is just the heart and soul of the movie. Um, and just his and John's friendship, I love. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. And again, just like he gets to be the everyman on the outside as well. Like again, another relatable kind of character who like isn't necessarily this badass with a gun. He's just like a desk jockey, just an average dude who, gets roped into the situation and is basically just using his common sense to try to help when no one else seems to want to do that. But yeah, and then like you said, Argyle every time is one of the best characters. Every time I watch it, he just kills me. And yeah, just everyone, even like again, Mr. Takagi, who's not in it for very long, but you just love like seeing, how selfless he is. He's willing to give himself up. He's willing to try to protect everybody else. The dickhead cocaine guy fucking cracks me up every single time.
That like
Hans,
smile he does.
Bobby.
Wait, I love the joke. There, the literally, I think there's like literally no lines about it. They just set down a can of Coke in front of him because
I
you know they
noticed that this time, yeah.
want, and he probably said Coke, and they were like,
I
yeah,
noticed that this time. Yeah, I was like, that was absolutely intentional. Like he's drinking from a Coke bottle. Um, but yeah, I think, and again, like it's so funny in certain parts too. Like I just like there's so many parts where again when he's like, they're gonna take out the lights, man, and then they shoot out the lights. They're going for the lights. It's like so many great moments of humor like that in the midst of all the tension. And yeah, seriously, like he doesn't he doesn't really spout that many one-liners, which is like again for this time fucking unheard of. I mean, like that was an act like I was watching it this time and I was really thinking like the fact that they let them make this movie this way, like at this time is really just crazy because it defied every single convention of what action movies had to do at this time. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know maybe if Joel Silver, who produced it, saw the vision here. I don't know if McTiernan just really fought hard for it. I don't know, but like God bless him because
I've read that it's based off a novel too, so I wonder
yeah.
if there just weren't
not
many
good.
to pull from that, and so they were like, "Well, we're just gonna." I
Yeah.
don't know how close to the novel it relates in any way, shape, or form, but
Not very, but I mean, it's just the basic premise of him having to fight terrorists in a building, but
Because
um
they had adapted the novel into a movie earlier with Frank Sinatra in it, they were obliged to ask him to star in the movie before they were allowed to ask anybody else. And of course, he was like, "No, I'm old." But just imagine if he went, "Yeah,"
well, because
like, they were like, "Fuck."
in the book, apparently the main character was older. He was like in his 60s. So I guess if you were doing a direct adaptation, that would have been fitting. That's kind of one of the things that they first said when they started doing it was like, no one wants to see a 60-year-old action hero. They're like, we got to make him younger. But
Cut to Good
take a
Day to Die
gun.
Hard.
say what?
I said, "Cut to Good Day to Die Hard."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's way too old doing it in that one. And way too disinterested. But yeah, yeah, I mean what can you say? It's just
I'm gonna watch it because I finally decided to watch 4 and 5.
yeah, I've
Four,
seen
I like four. I don't mean it's not the best, but I
Four's the
enjoy
one with
four.
Kevin Smith, isn't it?
That is the one with Kevin
yeah,
Smith.
it's four,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have seen 4.
I've seen all of them
Weston Long, and
I've
Yeah,
seen all of them except for five. Um
I
and
saw five in theaters, and I was very disappointed.
I remember when five came out thinking to myself, like, Jesus Christ, they're still making these. I actually like two and three. Four is a piece of shit. Kevin Smith's scene is the only good part of the movie. and that's because he wrote it. But yeah, I enjoyed two and three quite a bit. But
I started two, waiting for us to start the cast, and it's
Two is
great.
exactly like one though.
Yeah,
it's pretty much the only good thing Rennie Harlan's
got
ever made.
flying fucking reindeer in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
William
one.
Sadler's the bad guy in that one, which I love.
And the return of the pinup lady in the locker.
Yeah,
There's that in both movies.
True. Um, and also little connection here. Mary Ellen Trainor, who played the female newscaster at the news station, who was in it very briefly, that is the same character that she played in Ricochet, which we have reviewed on this podcast.
Uh,
Yes, the newscaster she played in Ricochet is this same lady.
you
And
need the crossover.
Steve D'Souza wrote both films, so he clearly took the liberty of bringing her into Ricochet.
so
So
Die Hard and Ricochet are in the same universe.
exactly. And
So
that
there is a chance that we could have had Denzel and Bruce Willis as their characters working together to solve a case, and they didn't do it.
those fucking bastards. And John Amos was in both because he was in Die Hard 2 and in Ricochet. So
That's wild.
explain that one. Um, but yeah, anything else you guys, any other thoughts you guys have?
I'm excited to watch the rest of them, even five,
I've
because
seen all, well, I've seen this one 8 billion times. Like I could quote it
Yeah,
in
same.
a year. So this is just a fun, I I love it. It's a great movie. Getting
It,
damn air vent with the lighter and then saying like, "Come on out to the coast, have a few glass."
yeah, one of the few true one-liners of the film, and it's a fucking classic. It's amazing. Now I know
Or
what
like, I know how a
dinner
DV
feels
dinner
like.
feels like.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a Christmas movie. Anyone who says otherwise is a liar and a
And
fool. It is baked into the film. It takes place at Christmas. There are movies that are considered Christmas films that have as much, if not less, to do with Christmas than this film. So I don't even think Home Alone actually takes place on Christmas. It's just around Christmas time. So I'm just saying. And that's considered a Christmas film. So they got the Christmas music all throughout the movie. It opens with a Christmas song, it ends with a Christmas song. It's baked into important moments of the film. It takes place at a Christmas party. It's a Christmas film, and that's that. And we settled it for all time right here.
And there is like Yuletide joy in the movie.
Yeah, Ode to Joy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I
that is
meant
an
like
important
just in
musical
general,
piece in the film.
Yuletide joy. You feel oneness and togetherness.
Yes.
And there's also plenty of fireworks.
and Christmas holiday party is relatable. Like you
Exactly.
got you, it's a fucking Christmas movie for
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
People doing cocaine at the office Christmas party. I mean, not
What's
one of
more
us hasn't
than
done
that?
that.
There, done that.
Say what?
They're done that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We've all done that. We've all done a little, little booger sugar here and
Oh,
there.
you enjoyed the snow. It snows on Christmas every year.
Yeah. It's a white Christmas. What do you want? Well, okay. I guess that's it for Die Hard. And now we shall move on to, I think next we should talk about Mr. Well, no, I can't. You told me not to call you Mr. Holler because I'm
Weird.
not allowed to call you that evidently, but Sam, it is now time to talk about your film, I think, which would be The Family Stone. Take it away, good
I
sir.
need 1 second and you will find out why.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm gonna refill my drink.
Oh, well, be quick.
I think he's coming back with something good. Oh my goodness.
The Family Stone is a bullshit fucking movie that I thought was
I'm
about
glad.
family getting stoned on Christmas to cover their mother's cancer situation because I seem to be picking movies where mothers have cancers on holidays. But no, this is about them getting proposed. And that's some bullshit because Sarah Jessica Parker in this movie is a goddamn bigoted bitch that is a complete offense to everything that the gay family that they have going on stands for.
And the
She
death.
and yeah, and the deaf. Oh, that's a double whammy. Fuck, deaf and gay. So anyway, we got. I wanted to say Dylan McDermott, but it's Dermot Mulroney, who is this wooded, two-faced piece of shit who brings his girlfriend, who is awful, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, to family Christmas to get his family's approval and opinions and everything so he can marry her. And the whole family is very, very dysfunctional. You got brothers, sisters, one played by Rachel McAdams. Oops, shit, my head. Fuck. Um, and
You're breaking the illusion, Sam.
I know I gotta drop this bit. But the Family Stone is not about smoking weed. It's about getting married on Christmas to people that are related to you and the people around you. So I enjoyed this movie, but not in a good way. How did y'all feel?
Eh,
Matt?
I thought it was all right. I didn't hate it, but I definitely was watching it kind of like eyes glazed over, no real thoughts going through my head. And I was surprised with the amount of people in it. But yeah, that's where my thoughts go. I mean, it's not terrible.
It
There's definitely moments like the scene where at the dinner where she was just being really crazy, like wild, and I was just like, what am I watching? Like this is at least interesting. But yeah, what did you think, Jackson?
Um, yeah, I was not a fan at all. This is one of the most off-putting films I've seen in a minute. And Sam, wherever you went, yes, I would like to point out this is the second holiday special that we've done where you
I
picked a
can
movie where the
apologize
mom
on
is dying.
camera.
Say what?
I will apologize on camera, face to face. Did not
Yes,
know that was going down.
And are
second
you trying to
time
fix yourself?
you second time you've picked one where the mom is dying of cancer. Don't know what your deal is there. I guess you have a cancer fetish of some sort, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we're gonna expose it here on this show.
Yep.
You can't hide it.
Good. The April Fool's Day episode when we get Sam's mom to tell him he has cancer.
Oh my God.
He called on the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, live on the
Like that
podcast,
one.
we have Sam's mother here to tell us some important information. But
You're like beep beep in the background.
yeah.
But
Um,
anyways.
but no, this was a very off-putting film, and just a very incredibly generic, just not well made. Look, I'm a sucker for a good Christmas rom-com, but even by this movie was just bizarre.
Yeah,
Just
like I didn't say I didn't enjoy it, but there is not very much likableness about this movie
well,
in a lot
so
of aspects.
yeah. So
Because it's like
here's the thing.
everyone going getting with everyone else, and it's like you can't like is everyone just gonna be like, well, I came here with this guy, might as well leave with this girl, like
I
that kind
mean,
of thing.
granted, we have not talked about the sexy motherfucker Luke Wilson, who is god tier in this movie and fucked the shit out of Jessica Parker.
I'm getting an erection just thinking about him. Oh man, that's a sexy motherfucker, Luke Wilson. But yeah, and don't get me started on Craig T. Nelson, Jesus Christ. But Mr. Incredible indeed. But yeah, this is definitely a very bizarre film. I was so uncomfortable for this entire movie and so just perplexed. I wanted to just shoot Sarah Jessica Parker in the face from the first second of the movie to the end. I just like as soon as she showed up, I was like, okay, this came out in I'm
That was
guessing
like the beginning.
2004, 2005, like what?
Didn't she show up like right in the beginning?
Yeah. As soon as she showed up, I was like, okay, this came out 2004, 2005, I'm guessing. Otherwise, why would she be in it? Sometime around then. And yeah, just right off the bat, she's one of the most annoying human beings on the planet. Um, Here's the problem, okay? So yeah, the whole thing is like Dermot Mulroney takes her to his fucking family's house and they don't like her. And it's like the plot of like half of the Christmas rom-coms that
I was
exist.
gonna say it was very similar to Roscoe Jenkins a little bit.
Yeah, or just a lot of comedies in general. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm taking the fiance or whatever to my home and they get made fun of and blah 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 and all that shit. Like, but even the most here's one of the main problems from the jump. They don't really have any character development of anybody. Like not the main two people. Like for the first like 30 minutes of the movie, I was like, I don't understand what Sarah Jessica Parker's problem is. I kept
Yeah,
saying to myself, like, what is the fucking matter with her?
and deaf people
She does hate gay
and
and deaf,
black people.
but we don't know that at first.
Not black people, but mixed people.
Yes.
She
Um,
doesn't want to mix people.
but but we don't at first we they never establish like what her problem is. Like she's just weird. Like the intention clearly is supposed to be she's an uptight, like kind of conservative, overworked, like overly talkative kind of businesswoman, but like they never like she's just being weird. Like they don't really establish that. Like even the most generic, even like fucking like Hallmark or Lifetime movies know how to establish that character trait. Like you just have a scene at the beginning where you show that she's spending too much time thinking about her job, like showing examples of how, uptight she is or how overworked. The only thing we see before they go to the family's house is just a scene of them buying something in a store, and it lasts for like a minute and a half. That's it. I'm just like, what the fuck was that supposed to establish? Like, we still don't know anything about this character. And so the whole movie, I'm like, she's just weird. I wanted to throw something at her because she was just being so weird. It was like driving me crazy. I'm like, what is your problem? Like she doesn't want to sleep in the same room as him. She's incredibly like rigid and nervous and awkward. And I'm just like, if they established clearly what her problem is, then it would be one thing. But I was like, what is your problem?
This
And
movie may have been better explained if it opened with an autism diagnosis.
like honest to God, that's what I would you're joking, but I was literally thinking to myself for the first 30 minutes of the movie, like I almost feel like that's what her problem is because nothing else has been established that makes any because that's how she behaves. It's like she has some form of autism, and I'm like, that's not what they're going for, but that's how it comes off. They're clearly going for like, she's just uptight and stuffy and stuff. But even like at first, like they don't again, it's not clear at first why they don't like her. Like she just talks a lot. Like that whole sequence where they go out to dinner and she won't stop talking. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure that's annoying, but for them to be that like repulsed by her at that point, to just because she talks a lot, it didn't make any sense. I'm like to the point where Diane Keaton like refuses to give him the wedding ring. Like I that girl, I just can't. I'm like just because she's weird and she talks a lot, like it was just none of it made any sense. It was like you could see what they were going for, but it just wasn't well established. And then the sister, Claire Danes, comes in and she's like completely normal and much more likable, and they all like her a lot more. And another one of the biggest problems of the movie, well, first of all, again, so many of the characters, their traits are not established. Going back to what you said earlier, Matt, about Luke Wilson, like, again, I guess the point of his character is he's the free-spirited, kind of aloof one in the family. You get that, but the idea that he's basically going to try to fuck his brother's fiance, like it's not really established that he's the kind of guy who would go that far or do something like that. They don't really build any character. Again, kind of like Sarah Jessica Parker, he's just acting weird the whole movie. There's no real like establishment of any character. He's just being weird.
For me,
And
the only relationship that really worked was Rachel McAdams and Brad, played by
Paul
Schneider.
Schneider.
Schneider. And even that was like a very
Everything in
odd
the movie was just
and,
strange.
and
And
his
I
whole thing
can't,
about how he took her virginity, so he has to come back and be her lover.
yeah. And again, at least that was like something. Like they gave some details about that, but the whole thing was just okay. Like another big problem in the movie was, man, some of the most jarring tonal shifts where that scene at the dinner table, which rivals the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in terms of uncomfortable dinner scenes. Uh-oh.
He can move. Mac can move.
He can move, but he can't walk.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't walk. I can move my upper body. However,
Yeah.
this is on wheels and it is not connected whatsoever to the headboard.
Oh, I see.
I just went forward trying to set up.
You almost just took a tumble there.
I can't
Um,
move.
yeah, just like the scene at the dinner table was just so fucking jarring because it's like the unbelievably tense, right? Unbelievably tense. Like and they even and I'm not gonna lie, like the tension building in that scene was effective. Like the pacing of it, and them playing the card, the very effective card of having Craig T. Nelson's character, who's been the most level-headed, never gets angry or raises his voice, playing the card of having him get pissed off and slam his fist down on the table. Like again, very effective. It's like, oh shit, the character who never loses his cool just lost his cool. And just his delivery of that first, like, that's enough that he gives. Like, you feel that. And then he says it again and you feel it even more. And then when he yells it and he slams his fist down, it's like, okay, wow, this is actually like really good tension building. And then what happens immediately afterwards? A goofy scene with music playing where she crashes the car in the driveway. I'm just like, I don't think this works. This is like, again, very jarring tonal shifts that happen throughout the movie.
I
That was the
never.
biggest one.
Did I miss something? Because when I watched that, I was like, did I miss? Does she either not know how to drive, or is there like ice on the driveway?
I don't
Is that
know. They just wanted a funny scene where she crashes the car. I mean, like,
I thought it was the ice, like she like hit the reverse and then she went down and then it just slid down. And I was like,
maybe. I thought it was just
everyone
like,
just sitting there listening to it happen. They're literally just sitting there listening to the car like slide
I guess they
around.
don't really show it. Yeah. I
And I'm
just
like,
assume it was because she was just kind of frantic and not paying attention, but who knows? But what's bizarre to me is like to me again, like the writing is so weird. Like the fact that they even let her back in the house after that scene is just fucking like this isn't just like a minor argument. Like they are like yelling at her, they are pissed off. She has just directly insulted a member of their family. The fact that they even let her back in the house after that, it's barely even addressed. They barely
Yeah,
even
that's
bring it
what
up
really.
again.
Well, I was kind of enjoying the movie, and then when that happened, I was like, there is nothing likable about this whatsoever.
Well, and that's the thing too, is
Dylan McDermott got really stale, and I was like, I don't care
I
about
mean,
you whatsoever.
Dylan Maroney.
Oh shit, Dermot got really, really stale as a character, and I was like, you are not interesting whatsoever, and I do not care about you. I don't want you to be happy. Like, you'd be better off
no,
just leaving.
yeah, and again, like they never establish even the worst rom-coms know how to do this. They never establish why he's so determined to marry her. It's never established why he likes her, why he's with her, like what it is that he sees in her. They never establish why he's so determined to marry her. Like even the worst fucking rom-coms know how to take at least one scene to establish that. And they just don't here. There are just so many things that they just don't establish. They're hitting the beats, but they're not expanding on anything. There's no development. Like none of the writing makes any sense. And like he's just so determined, like, I'm gonna marry her, I'm gonna marry her, I'm gonna marry her. Why? But it's never established. Nothing that any of the characters do makes any fucking sense. And just like Pieces of April, the other one where the mom had cancer, just like in that movie, If you took that out of the story, it would not make a fucking difference. I am so
Other than,
tired.
other than the attempt of, oh, they show the Christmas next year and she's not there, you gotta feel sad.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's
Like,
like, yeah, you just airlift that one part, or you put Diane Keaton in that scene, and it doesn't make a difference.
yeah.
Like, and just like in that movie, it pisses me off. I'm like, stop using cancer as just a cheap plot device to like make us cry. Like, if you're gonna play that card, then fucking play that card and make it meaningful. I mean, just like it's so cheap and manipulative. Like that last scene where, oh, it just zooms over to the picture and you're supposed to cry. I'm just like, fuck off. This is so cheap. And yeah, again, like so many things that just are weird. Like, obviously, after the dinner table scene, you don't like Sarah Jessica Parker because she is beyond out of line in that scene. And again, I just wanted to, more than any other scene in the movie, I just wanted to shoot her because, like, the fact that, like, she will not stop talking about it, even when it is abundantly clear that she is creating tension and they don't want her to keep, like, she just keeps like, well, that's not what I'm trying to say. I love when Dermot Mulroney literally goes, well, why don't you just say what you're trying to say then? You know, I'm just like, please either say it or leave. Like, Jesus Christ. And up until that scene, yes, she's weird. Yes, she's annoying, but you don't have any real reason to see why they don't like her that much. After that, you do. But up until then, again, it's just like, and I remember thinking to myself, when Claire Danes shows up and she's at the dinner table and she asks them if they care about the race of the baby. And I'm just like, okay, she asks that question and gets away with it scot-free. They don't care at all. They don't find it offensive. But Sarah Jessica Parker got her ass chewed out during charades just for pointing to the dude as a clue. I'm like, that she gets chewed out for, but Claire Danes gets away with asking about the race of the baby. I was like, this is fucking bizarre. They just, it's so selective what they're upset by. I'm like, this is just weird. The writing was just so weird where things just happened and it didn't make any fucking sense. And yeah, again, that whole incident at the dinner table is never addressed again. They never bring it up. Like Craig T. Nelson apologizes, which he doesn't have to. He was completely in the right, losing his temper. But you know, that's it. We never, and there's so much wrong with it. Like,
But it's funny to me though because so like other people I've talked to about this movie, like my mom, my aunt, my dad, have all like I mentioned, they always go, yeah, I didn't like that. Like like ugh. You know, like when I mention it, like
yeah.
Blockbuster, the Family Stone was there for like $1, and I had to choose between that and Bruno. And my dad said, that's not really that funny. I would go with Bruno. That's, that's how like, and it's like I was like, damn. And
Jesus
I didn't think it
Christ.
was. That's why I've never seen the movie because like I've always heard it's not that great. And then I watch it and I'm like, this is not what I expected.
Yeah.
You know?
when I watched it with Ricky's Abby, and she's watched this film every year for the last 15 years of her life. Well, since it came out, whenever it came out, that was like their mom took them to see it and they have watched it. And they know it's not good, but like they really enjoy like the crazy aspects of things of it. And so watching it with them really like elevated a lot of some of the just absurdness and having all of us like face palm during the dinner scene when Sarah Jessica Parker just kept going on and we just got
Between that dinner table scene and the one from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one during one of those scenes, I was able to not turn my head away and not be able to look at it. Can you guess which one that was?
Definitely Family Stone.
In
You got
this
to think about
one, I
there.
literally, for most of that dinner table scene, I could not, my head was down like this.
it
I
was just
just could
rough.
not look at it.
It
It
was
was
rough.
so uncomfortable. I was like, wow, this is just like
I have a question for you, Matt,
intense.
because you're the only one of us three that has watched Fargo season five in its entirety, right?
Yeah.
The fuck, I just forgot his name. The guy that directed this, Bazooka or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, he directed the last two episodes of season five. Do you think like I've never seen anything else that this guy has done? Do you think like he can? Is the direction good? Because
Yeah,
there's moments in
it
this
is.
movie that are good and stuff, but
Well,
I think
I would
the
say it's hard to say because like
it
one,
needs
you
to be
kind
the
of
right
got to
job.
go from like what you've already been given, so you kind of have to fall into the Fargo style. But however, he did a good job. Like I wasn't like, oh, this sucks, or like that was a weird shot. I didn't even know. Like I wouldn't have been able to tell like that was a different. It wasn't like, oh, this new guy tried doing something different kind of thing.
He
I
wrote
like.
the, and I didn't know if because he had something that he didn't write, if he was able to like elevate it to something that was interesting.
I mean, I
But
didn't think the direction was terrible, and like I didn't think the necessarily like the shots were bad or the camera work was terrible. I wasn't like jumping out at that necessarily either. I thought I was like, it was basic. It wasn't like this is amazing, but it wasn't like, oh, this dude clearly didn't know where to put a camera. It definitely seems more like it could have stemmed just from the writing. I don't know how you guys feel, but that might have just been it. It just stemmed all from that.
I thought the direction was pretty flat. I mean, the whole thing was just the writing, the direction, the whole thing was just incredibly flat and boring. But I don't know. I haven't seen any of the guy's other work. Maybe he's moved on to better things. I know he was supposed to be one of the directors of Secret Invasion, the Marvel show,
oh,
but he dropped out at the last minute. So interesting to
hmm.
know that. But yeah, I
Maybe,
mean,
Sam, you were right. A little bit of weed would have helped that whole movie.
yeah, maybe that is the way to watch this. Who knows? We all should have taken a cue from Sarah Jessica Parker because she was all uptight, and then after she smoked the weed, she was much more relaxed. So maybe that's what we would have been. But and again, just I'm just thinking back to like just some of the most jarring fucking tonal shifts where like there's this scene where she gives them all the Christmas present of the photo, and it's like this like super emotional. They're all crying and like, oh, thank you for giving us this photo and shit. And like half a second later, they launch into this comedy thing about like asking her to marry him and shit, and it just completely changes tone and she's like yelling at everything. I'm just like the whole movie just has an identity crisis here. Clearly, it doesn't know whether it wants to be funny or serious, and it's just kind of doing both at the same time, and it's very fucking and just like I can't with the fucking bullshit, them running around with the Nutcracker playing. It's just so that whole part was so cringe inducing because there was no reason for it. Like in that moment, they had clearly established like nothing had happened. Luke Wilson very clearly said we didn't sleep together. Sarah Jessica Parker admitted, like, okay, I guess we didn't sleep together. And yet still Dermot Mulroney starts chasing him around the house. And I'm just, you couldn't help yourself, could you? Like, you were good. And that conversation they have under the table could have been had in the living room on the couch. But he couldn't help himself. We had to get a comedic chase sequence with the Nutcracker playing where they're knocking food over and shit. It's just like he wanted that
That
scene
does
to be in the movie. So
make me think also of Roscoe Jenkins when they're gambling and they start fighting and it goes into the whole other thing.
yeah, this has a lot of similarities when you really think about it. But that one was
My
much more
Roscoe
enjoyable, though.
Jenkins.
Say what?
This is my gay and deaf Roscoe Jenkins.
Yes, gay and deaf Roscoe Jenkins. But
He's gonna have an identity crisis.
indeed. But yeah, it was a very, very, very bizarre and off-putting film for sure. And the whole thing just didn't work. I mean, truly didn't work. And again, like Dermot Mulroney falls in love with Claire Danes because they have a conversation about a totem pole. Like, that's it. That's it. That's pretty much like one of the only conversations they have in the movie. And then it's like, oh no, I love her and I want to marry her now. And it's like, okay, whatever. Just get the fucking movie over with faster. Um, yeah, not a fan whatsoever. And some of the performances were good, I guess. Like, Dermot Mulroney, his character was very generic, but he was doing the best he could. Craig T. Nelson, I thought, was the best actor in the movie. He was really good. That's his character. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, they
Oh,
were all
that's
trying their best.
his husband. Like they were
So what?
good. The son and his husband, like they were good.
They
They
were
didn't
good.
bad, but like it just didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the whole cast, they're all trying their best, but I mean, there's just not. much to work with for the most part. Like, yeah, just a very I was just watching it thinking to myself like it seems like he knows what he wants to do. He just has no idea how to do it. I mean, like seriously, even the worst rom-coms, like Hallmark movies, know how to do these things better than this movie did it. I'm like, the, some of the shit in this movie is just inexcusable with how just badly done it is. But what I was very disappointed that Sarah Jessica Parker did not get shot by the end of the movie. That was my greatest wish.
Heard.
But yeah,
I,
that's
I don't want to steal your thunder, but to also talk about ladies that apparently need to be gagged and stuffed into a closet until they suffocate to death. Black Christmas was fucking insane.
you got that right.
Somebody who also knows what a TV dinner feels like.
Oh my God. That was an A+ one right there.
Oh wow.
But yes, Black Christmas,
Movie.
which was Mr. Patterson's pick.
Yep.
Take it away, good sir.
Bob Clark's Black Christmas, but kind of like Sam, I have a bit of a bit to do.
Uh-oh.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house a bunch of creatures were stirring, including Margot Kidder in her blouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that Black Christmas would soon be there. But yes, we have lick it, lick it, lick it, take that, Harry, come.
Your pig pussy.
Some weird, wild lines for
Um,
sure.
so so just a quick on the plot, which is actually kind of surprisingly when I thought about it, I was like, it's actually kind of a pretty easy plot to describe. Basically, it's a sorority house. There is an unknown killer in the house, and what the interesting part about this movie is, unlike most slasher horror films, nobody really knows there's a killer in that. Like, there's not like, oh, there's a killer we got to get away from. You just don't know. They're like, there's this guy calling them. So there's this guy who calls them, and slowly people start to begin to disappear. They go missing. They have no idea where they're at. And pretty much the whole movie, just everyone starts to get more and more paranoid as more and more people disappear, as the POV killer, takes them out. And we kind of start trying to figure out who it is. And who knows who it is, really. But
And
yeah, it's
this
very
is
well.
that I've seen this movie 3 times and I didn't realize how like not ham-fisted, but like in the forefront that whole abortion conversation was about, and like its relation to seeing if you see the remake, it ties into it gives a bunch of backstory to the killer, and then it makes it kind of like should that person's mother have aborted them and everything. And so then that tied into all this kind of thing. And I was like, that's a conversation that movies now can barely even have a conversation about. And they were talking about it wide open and upfront back in the 70s, which is insane.
Yeah, for the time, definitely. Yeah, this I'd never seen it before. I have always wanted to, I've always been curious about it. But what I didn't expect, because I knew this was obviously a big cult classic, but I didn't realize A, that it was going to be so fucking good, and B, how unique and influential it was. Because I was watching it and the thought occurred to me, I'm like, this came out in 1974. I was like, this is before Halloween. And I'm like, so this really was one of like, this was even the same year as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, so this really is one of the first true slasher films. I mean, this is like, uh, give it props for like really setting the tone for all the films that followed. And like, but here's the thing that's cool is on the one hand, it clearly was very influential and deserves a lot of credit for being one of the earliest true slasher films. And I've never heard because you hear about like, oh yeah, there were all those pre-Halloween movies that really set the tone, like Texas Chainsaw and Psycho and Peeping Tom and all these. But I've never really heard this one discussed in that same breath, but it deserves to be. But even then, at the same time, It's so different from Halloween and all those typical slasher movies because you don't know who the killer is. You never really see who it is. I mean, and again, not only that, but it's so realistic. Like that was what was so chilling about it to me was it's not somebody like Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers who's this indestructible monster in a mask, it's like just a dude
Who just
and
climbed, yeah,
it's just
literally
a
climbing in.
yeah, it's a dude and he's climbing in through the window and he's making these phone calls and he's
Man,
not indestructible. He's just like a guy. And you get that sense throughout the whole film. The whole thing just feels so much more realistic than your typical slasher film to the point where, I mean, this killer, you don't even see him. You don't even know who it is by the end of the movie. But boy, are you scared shitless of him. I
The
mean,
shot of
like,
this guy is insane.
that was one of the scariest things I've ever seen in a movie was that shot of his eye through the doorway. I mean, like, truly. And the whole sequence afterwards, when she locks herself in the basement and he's like screaming at the top of his lungs, pounding on the door, that was absolutely terrifying. I mean, that was like, he barely even seemed like a human being in that scene but it was still so realistic. I mean, just like the otherworldly screams. I've never heard anything like that in a movie where, he's like just the absolute insanity and the rage that comes through when he's trying to get through that door. And in the telephone calls too, like that's what's so scary about him is he genuinely sounds fucking crazy. Like it's chilling the whole time. And the way he's doing all the different voices and shit, it's just chilling. So effective. I mean,
I really hate how like because it's of the time when they're tracing his call, they have to have them on the line for an extra way longer amount of time than what would normally nowadays be possible. So then like that whole building and pushing back and forth of like him ending the call right before they can find him and all that kind of stuff, it was really cool to have that happen and set the stage.
no, I really liked like in the beginning when he's doing all the voices on the phone, and then she's like, "You're a fucking creep," and then he just drops it and he goes, "I'm gonna kill you." Like
yeah.
I love that because I was like, I was trying to figure out who it was. I was like, do I know? Like, has he been in other stuff? But no. But it's crazy that also like Bob Clark did this because it's like he was
Okay.
like, do a Christmas story, and then I'm gonna give you also a great Christmas horror movie that also looks very similar. Like cinematography to me kind
Well,
of matched.
well, here's the thing is like most people would say seeing this, like, wow, I can't believe this is from the director of A Christmas Story. But considering this one came out first, I was thinking to myself, I can't believe that they let him do A Christmas Story after this. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe any
Yeah.
studio executive saw this movie and was like, yeah, let's let him do A Christmas Story. He
I
seems
mean,
like the
there is
right guy for
specific
that.
things in a Christmas story, like the scene with the Santa when they're all like, when the close-ups of
Oh,
the elves and shit. That is kind of scary.
Yeah. But I just the
Especially
idea that they would let him do like a traditional Christmas movie after seeing this is just hilarious. But yeah, very different kind of Bob Clark Christmas film. Although I'm convinced that really and truly this is the story of Ralphie grown up and the trauma that he endured having to wear the bunny suit has made him snap and now he's killing everybody. But
there's a funny connection that to this, which is not. You said the Bruce Willis show he was on was Moonlighting.
Mhm.
Oh shit. Okay, never mind. The guy that composed the music of this did the music for Moonstruck, and I got confused in my brain.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That is interesting.
and then
But
John Saxon being in the movie, another good actor, just showing up out of not out of nowhere, but
say what?
John Saxon.
Yeah, he was great and kind of playing the same part as in Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's what
He's
I
the
was
police
thinking.
chief. Yeah, but he had a knack for that. And what was random as fuck to me was Keir Delay being in the movie. My man, he doesn't want that baby aborted because he was a star baby once. And he knows if Stanley Kubrick had aborted him, then he wouldn't be here today. So you know. But yeah, that's the first thing I've ever seen him in, um, other than 2001. So it was like fucking wild seeing him in this. And I was thinking to myself the whole movie, I was like, I know it's not him because they clearly so badly want us to think it's him. But I was like, I don't see how in the world it possibly couldn't be. He's so fucking creepy and suspicious and shit. And that was the thing that I truly wasn't expecting, was for them to not reveal who it was by the end of the movie. And I remember like at first when the credits started rolling, I was like, what the fuck? Like it's just some guy? Like we don't know who it is? What the fuck? And then it took me only about a few seconds to be like, oh, but that's actually kind of brilliant though. Like it was shocking at first, but I'm like, that's actually real because it makes it scarier. Like it's just some fucking guy. We don't know who it is. Like whatever you're imagining is scarier than whoever the guy actually is. And it could just be anybody. But yeah, even without seeing who he is, he's still like one of the scariest movie villains I've ever seen. I mean, without even really knowing his name. I mean, I guess like the name that people call him is Billy because that's what he kind of calls himself. But and there's so much intrigue around it too. You're just like, what happened? Like, what is this? Like, he keeps talking about like, don't tell Agnes or whatever. Like, don't tell what we did and shit. I'm just like, wow. Like, it's so chilling and so like it gets your mind racing. Like, what is this guy's deal? Like, what happened? You know, it's so just eerie.
Yeah.
No, very
That,
unsettling movie.
yeah, it was like because like online it said horror mystery, I think, or thriller mystery, but like, and I was like, mystery, and I now I see how it is technically a mystery kind of movie. It's like, because you're like, who the fuck is this guy? And
Right.
you in slashers, you kind of think that for maybe 20, maybe 30 minutes, but usually the bulk of the movie, you're like, okay, I know it's this masked person or
Right, like,
whoever.
well, and
Who
you
this?
know who Michael Myers is from the first scene of the movie. You
Yeah,
know who Freddy Krueger is right off the bat. Like, there's not much of a mystery usually. Here, it's like, who is it? But they never even solve the mystery. We never find out who it is. So, and that's just so unique and so brilliant. And I really just think the whole thing was just incredibly well made. I mean, shout out to Bob Clark, who just, I mean, directed the shit out of this. The cinematography in this to me was just gorgeous and just like very chilling. I mean, just like one of the scenes where she's talking on the phone, just a slow zoom in on her while she's talking to him, and just like, I don't know, it was just every scene was just so effectively shot. And also really funny for parts of it. The girl, the house mother was fucking killing me. Every scene she was in.
like
When
goddamn,
the
how many places can you hide liquor?
and I had to rewind that line. It fucking killed me so hard. I died laughing like, yeah, well, these girls would hump the Leaning Tower of Pisa if they could reach it. I was like, every single scene she was in, she was fucking cracking me up. Like when the part started where clearly she's about to die, I was like, no, please, please, please don't kill her. Oh my God, I'm enjoying her so much. Please don't take her out of the movie. She got fucked up by that hook, man. That was brutal. These motherfuckers don't know how to check the attic. Like, how hard is it to go up into the fucking attic for Christ's sake? Like,
This,
honestly, at the end of the movie, they still don't go up there and find them. Like,
yeah, that
ugh.
was what also threw me is like not even the bodies are found. Like people are like they're missing, like
Yeah, like those two up in the attic. Yeah, they never find them. I'm just like, and the fact that this guy is so easily able to just stay in this house, I'm just like, man, this is a big house, but
that's the other thing you mentioned tropes and stuff that they used before anything was ever done was the calls are coming from inside the house. Like I
right.
can't like is that one of the first has to be like the first if not one of the first.
Yeah, I read they
Only
took
one
that
I can
from
think of is Scream.
Huh?
say what?
The next one, only thing I can think of is like how Scream used
Yeah,
stuff.
Yep.
So,
where
I mean,
it's
that's
just a voice on the
30
phone.
years,
Yeah.
30 years difference, or almost
Yeah, I
30
mean,
years.
and truly, like, you can see the inspiration a lot of horror movies afterwards took from this. And I read that one of the inspirations for Halloween was like Bob Clark pitched to John Carpenter what he would do for a Black Christmas sequel. And it was like John Carpenter was like, "Oh shit, well I'll just take that and make it my own thing pretty much." So the influences are pretty clear there. And it's
I
really
think,
cool.
I think there's a couple more influences that it did on some other movies. I think there's a Black Christmas and another Black Christmas. I
There,
think it had some pretty heavy influences on those, but I could be wrong.
yeah, there are the two remakes that I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the 2006 one.
I really enjoyed the 2006 one, just like I enjoy the House of Wax remake from that time period.
But I hear that in the 2006 one, they apparently give him a backstory, which is just kind of goes against the whole point. But the I remember when the 2019 one came out, and fucking hell, that looked like one of the funniest, most unintentionally hilarious movies I've ever seen. I heard it was fucking horrible. It looked like it from the trailers. I remember thinking to myself, I might go see this just to laugh at it. It looks so bad. But yeah, so you can't beat the classics, of course. But and just again, little bits of humor throughout this whole thing. As scary and just absolutely chilling at moments as it is, truly there are like I love the scene where the dad is in the dorm room and the house mother's like putting her hand over the vagina on the poster. Just like and then she spends the whole time just trying to cover it up and then the second she leaves the room he just opens the door and looks at it. It's
Well,
like
there's also that shot of the poster on the wall with like the grandma with a bunch of pictures, and then it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
him off, and then it just shows him just staring at it like
Yeah.
like a good
The
minute.
whole Yeah, so many, and then yeah, the guy getting drunk in the Santa costume, and the little detail I loved of Margot Kidder like feeding or like giving the little kid alcohol in the cup. Did you notice that? That was so funny. I'm like, she's letting that kid, like that 10-year-old kid drink. It was so funny. But and of course the arguably the best joke in the movie, the fellatio joke, which was fucking hysterical. I just love that long scene of the guy laughing and him just slowly getting up and going over like, what is this? Fellatio. It's what she wrote down.
Yeah, and then later he's like, "Was this the girl that was at the station earlier?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"All comes
But the
back."
way she like spells it out for him too. And
Yeah.
he's just sitting there writing it line by line. She's just staring
That
at him.
fucking guy was the most incompetent piece of shit who ever lived. I mean, truly. Like he had one job. Don't tell her that he's in the house. And what the fuck did he do? I mean, truly. And it's funny because, I was reading about it and, a lot of people over the years have interpreted this as kind of like a feminist-ish movie. And I can see why, because there are obviously themes like that in the film. And that's definitely one of them. The idiot cop who's not taking any of it seriously from the beginning. But I like how that's present, but they don't beat you over the head with it. It's just like things like that, like the cop, they don't like I've heard in the 2019 one, they just mercilessly beat you over the head with it. I could tell just from the trailers that was what they were gonna do. But like here, it's just like, okay, no, it speaks for itself. Like the main character is very self-sufficient, is very defiant in the face of Keir Dulley's character, has a lot of agency. And again, it speaks for itself, and I think it's effective in that way. And again, and Keir Dulley also is just being like, for someone who didn't do it, he couldn't have been acting more guilty, man. He was just being all kinds of crazy, like smashing his piano and shit, and just like being all weird, breaking through the glass window to get inside.
I'll be honest. The only part I did skip of this movie was watching him destroy that piano because the last time I saw it, it just really hurt me a little.
I was gonna say, Sam, I feel like you probably felt that at a personal level.
That piano is so expensive. The
That's
trying
what I was thinking
to,
too. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
mad. Um, that's for sure. And
I
yeah.
was just playing on the same kind of piano yesterday as well before I watched the movie, and I was just like, I can't watch this. I can't.
Yeah, but genuinely this was of the two that I hadn't seen this week, it was the one I liked the best. Obviously, I didn't like The Family Stone, but this, I mean, I would call this a favorite now. I mean, this is really, I can't sing the praises of this movie enough. Genuinely one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and just very chilling and effective. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be kind of like a cheesy cult movie or what it was going to be, but it was genuinely very, very effective and scary and well done. And both, again, I love how at the same time, it was the template that set the template for a lot of movies going forward, but it was also very unconventional at the same time, in that you never see the killer, you never learn who he is. You just hear him over the phone and see that really creepy shot of him get right. All you can see is that little part of his face. That was a very good shot. And yeah, the whole thing was just incredibly, incredibly well done. And it's very jarring seeing this from Bob Clark. I mean, with A Christmas Story being the only thing I've seen from him before this. Very different kind of Christmas indeed. You'll stab your eye out, kid. But yeah.
Y'all ready for this podcast's Christmas gift?
All right. Everyone say it with us. Everyone send us all your Christmas spirit so that we can help miniature Matthew walk again.
Well,
Come
what'll
on.
really
Sam,
be-
you got to give him Christmas spirit. Come on.
I'm feeling something.
Can it
Oh!
be? Can it be?
Mini
It's a Christmas
No,
miracle.
no. He dropped to the floor. He
Oh.
fell to the floor.
I'm down.
Well, fuck it. Never mind. He's never going to walk again. What are
Wait,
you going to do?
wait. I think I have something that could fix him. So this is an exclusive for the 3 for 3 podcast, a paparazzi exclusive.
Oh, boy.
My dad, who lives in Charleston, South Carolina, lives near another celebrity who lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and I have this exclusive photo of Bill Murray at the grocery store buying his food. Oh, oh, Matt, look at this photo.
They worked. It's a very
Bill
Merry
Murray.
Christmas.
It's a very Murray Christmas.
He ain't no
Thank you,
Scrooge.
Bill Murray.
He ain't no Scrooge
Oh.
no more. But yeah,
Dr.
this
Bill
no
Murray
one
saved my legs.
Miniature Matthew can walk again. Oh, wow.
This
That's
man
a-
wants to
that's a
buy
blessed
some
Christmas.
fucking food. He just wants to buy food and not be disturbed. So that's why my dad took a photo.
Why does he look like he's posing for the picture though? Like his face looks like he's like
Because Bill Murray's just always camera ready.
always.
That's
He's got a little
why.
eyebrow up.
My dad said a bunch of people swarmed him once they realized he was there. But my dad took that photo before it happened and he was like, I'm just going to leave him alone.
You'll
Wow.
probably see him again.
Oh, yeah,
Interesting.
this is the second time he's seen him in a year. So
How interesting. Didn't know Bill Murray lived so close.
yeah,
Well, I guess that's it for the
we got to tag this with exclusive paparazzi photos of Bill Murray.
yes.
And then hashtag TMZ.
Yeah,
You saw it
hashtag
here first, folks. Bill Murray buying his groceries.
at
So,
Parker.
come at us, TMZ. We got the scoop first.
We are T for T.
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out.
we're 2
What-
for 3, right?
Huh?
We're about 2 for 3, I think, on this
2
one.
for 3, 2 for
We are
3.
2 for 3 on this one. I meant instead of TMZ, we are
Oh,
Oh,
T for
okay.
T.
Okay.
I see.
Fair.
Well, that does it, I guess, for the Christmas episode of 3 for 3. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I'm sorry this episode is not for you, but it could be. You could branch out, try other things.
Hey, Next
And
year
we
we will
celebrate
Next
definitely
year
do
we will do a Hanukkah special.
Yeah, we'll do a different. Well,
It'll be 8
no matter
straight
what,
posting.
no matter what, watch Fiddler on the Roof because that was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life.
It
That was
absolutely is.
years ago.
8 crazy nights.
Tradition. Oh, Eight Crazy Nights is so good.
I will literally kill you both with fire if you ever make me watch 8 Crazy Nights for this show. So just keep that in mind if you ever decide to pick it. But yeah, Fiddler on the Roof is one of the greatest films of all time. And Sam, I'm glad you saw it because it's a masterpiece. Rip Norman Jewison, and Topol, who played Tevye.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Da papa.
yeah, his little that he does during that one scene.
Bitty bitty bum.
Bitty bitty bum. But yeah, so but we encourage people of all faiths to celebrate all holidays to watch this episode if you want to. But yeah, just keep watching movies, keep being merry, keep spreading Christmas spirit, and
And check your attic.
and check your attic. For the love of God, check your
Do
attitude.
not bring your fucking bigoted ass girlfriend to your family home when you have.
And if you are a bigoted ass girlfriend, please have the decency to shut the fuck up when you're at your family's dinner table. If the at the very fucking least. Like, please don't keep talking for 5 minutes about how you wish you had a normal son, because that's not okay. That is never okay. And I guess there's only one other thing to say, which is yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Bye.
Woo!